You say this hangout on air is live. Okay.
Welcome everybody to Saturdays with Terah. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club on the web at the LOAclub.com. If you're on the conference line, remember to press *6 for questions or comments. This hangout on air is the summary of our theme for the week. Our longer discussion continues each week on our conference line. This week, our open call will be on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And we will also continue our longer discussion right after this hangout on air on our conference line. You're welcome to join us. Robin will be bringing through Terah for us today. And so, as always, we welcome Terah and Robin. So over to you, Robin and Terah.
Welcome to our intersection, this place where our worlds touch, and we all appear to be operating together in the same realm. And for a brief moment in time, we are. Time continuity and space continuity are part of the personal virtual reality each of you is creating. And these touch points, of course, always appear to be part of a greater continuity. But they are episodes. They are the points at which our stories, yours and ours, are a match. They are vibrationally resonant. So, welcome to our vibrationally resonant episode about death and the law of attraction. Let's see if we can open up a new understanding about this. This week we were planning to talk a little about the concept of time. Then on Thursdays with Terah this week, we wrestled a little with the concept of death. So we thought, since the time subject is one part of the death subject, why not tackle the bigger topic and see if we can cover more of your questions. What's inherently difficult about this death topic is that when you think about making new choices, creating new things in your world, most of you confine those choices to within that world. You think of more money or a more healthy body or a better relationship. You're usually not thinking of options outside of space and time. And death is one of those options. Death is simply a choice to step into a version of you that is outside of the space-time game you've been playing. It's switching to a new sort of virtual reality. The concept is simple, but imagining that new you in a new context may not be so easy. And that's why describing it in language has its challenges, but here we go. What is this death thing after all? What happens to the different versions of us? Let's start by contrasting what's real, what's permanent and always true no matter what, absolute, fundamental to everything and not a choice, with what's unreal or virtual, what's temporary and illusory, the story you've made up and you're always at choice about. So here's what's not a choice and never changes. And as we use time-based words like never and always and eternally, recognize we're talking about timelessness. Because as long as time exists, there is no eternity. At your essence, you're a consciousness, a part of and eternally, timelessly connected to the collective consciousness of all that is. You're pure positive energy, and we only use the word positive to assure you there's nothing negative about the essence of you. Your choices create you. Your new limitless choices create new versions of you. You exist in infinite versions. Each version has its own matching context. New choice always equals new context. So you are the creator and the experiencer and the chooser, and therefore the creator, the new experiencer and new chooser. So are we. So is in every individuated conscious entity. You have chosen this particular shape for your consciousness, which is to say you've focused your thinking machine into perceiving only one version at a time. You've focused yourself into the particular you that has the particular story that you exist in a space-time world. This is your context because of those choices you made. And if there are limits in that context of yours, they exist because you chose them. So here's what's temporary. Here's what you've chosen and can choose to change. The shape of your consciousness, the shape of the physicalness that is you and the space-time world around you, the shape of the spiritual, non-physical world around you. You have chosen the shape of us, even as we have chosen the shape of you. You have chosen to be human on a round planet Earth in a solar system. You have chosen it to be in 2015 with all that goes with that point in time. And within all of that, you have made a gazillion other choices, some unique to you, some shared with some shared with many. And perhaps you have chosen to believe you will die. So let's talk about what dying means. And let's recognize that even as you die, the things that are essentially true about you and never change still do not change. Your choices create you, and the decision to die, to transition, is a choice. Where and what you be after that transition will be where and what you expect death to lead to. But whatever or wherever that is, you remain a timeless, spaceless, eternally connected, infinite consciousness. From an exchange we had with Kathy this week. Kathy, there's law of attraction and then there's quantum physics. Both say there are multiple versions of reality on this physical plane. So when I die, do I enter another physical plane in a whoosh, or do I return to source and enter a non-physical reality? Us. You do both, because there are infinite versions of you. Kathy, hey, do I leave the physical or do I return to source? Us. If you expect to leave the physical, you will. If you expect to return to source, you will. And if you expect to be able to be conscious of both those versions rather than just one, as now, your consciousness will expand and you will. There are no limits here except what you choose. Kathy, you have said there will be a whoosh as we leave our limited understanding. So if there's a whoosh and understanding, wouldn't that indicate that we go to non-physical? Us. It will be whatever you expect it to be. If you expect it to be a huge change, then you could describe it as a whoosh to whatever new shape lines up with your creative choice. From Abraham in 2012, after Jerry Hick's transition. In the urgent clinging to what you call this life, there is a defiance of your understanding of the eternalness of who you are. And when you let go of that, there is a release into alignment. There's a release into this grid of who you are that defies anything you've ever lived before. In other words, Depending, of course, on what you're choosing to expect, you're going to let go of, step out of the space-time story and into the infinite possibilities that are an inherent part of who you are. To continue with the quote, Jerry, as he found that vibrational place, said to Esther, I want you to know that one of two things can happen. Either they're going to figure this out and I'm going to bounce back into my physical body feeling good, or they're not going to figure this out and I'm going to re-emerge into non-physical. And in either case, I want you to know I'm good. Of course, by they, Jerry meant the medical team working on his leukemia. And Esther said, well, good for you. I'm only good with one of those options. And we said to Esther, Jerry is the only one who gets to choose. Jerry is the only one who gets to choose. The 300-pound gorilla in the room question that's not being addressed here is, was Esther not at choice about this? Well, about her world, of course, she is. There's nothing she cannot be to have. So, of course, she can choose whether Jerry transitioned. To understand what's going on here, we first have to recognize that in one version of reality, Jerry transitioned, and in another version, he got better. So that question can only be answered from the perspective of each person involved, including you. In this particular version we're discussing, Jerry chose to transition, and the medical team, and Jerry, and Esther, and this one, and all of you in this particular version are a match to that choice of Jerry's. Let's give you another analogy. When you wake up from a dream, it's a change of realities. You inherently know that this waking reality is more real than the dream because it's a match to the conscious you. When you transition, it will be like waking up from that dream, and you will inherently recognize it as more real than the space-time reality you stepped out of, because it's a match to the new version of you created by your choice to transition. The context that always surrounds you is always a match to the version of you you're inhabiting, and it's always going to feel more real than the quote-unquote dream you stepped out of. So you will know your new realm is more real than the one you left. So you all have expectations about death. Just see them for what they are and recognize that in this, as in all things in your story, you are at choice. We recommend also that you recognize that although you may have some strong ideas about how you want it to be and who you want to see on the other side, when your perspective changes, you may very well make some different choices. And that's absolutely okay. Everything is possible and everything is okay. All is well. Death is a choice just like any other choice. That's as it should be. Choice is your middle name. Choice in everything is what it's all about, and it always was. So let's finish here with 4 key thoughts about the nature of death. 1, death is not an end to anything, but one version of you. 2, death is what you make it to be. It's no big deal unless you make it a big deal. 3, death is always a choice. Where you go, what you see, etc. 4, death is not the end of communication. It's a change in how you communicate. And now we move to our longer discussion and to your questions.
This hangout on air is the summary of our theme for the week. Our longer discussion continues now on our conference line and our open call on Tuesday this week. You're welcome to join us using the number on your screen.